Yes, I said. I see, she said, and she put the essay in a manila folder and left it on top her desk. But unlike Juliet, Marilee didn't stab herself. In fact, that afternoon she was waiting for me outside the gates of Camillo Junior High, standing beside a ridge of crusted snow that she had stamped down flat. It wasn't my fault, she said. Aren't you supposed to be at St. Adalbert's? I just showed him your drawing because it was so good. I didn't know he would use the same design. Sure, Marilee. It's true, she said. All right, it's true. Whatever you say, Marilee. You told him everything about my father's design, everything. And then a few days later, he draws up new plans so that the inside of his school is just like the inside of my father's school. You had nothing to do with it. I didn't say that I had nothing to do with it, said Marilee. I said I didn't know he would use the same design. I'd keep the dark glasses on, Marilee. It's easier to lie to someone if they can't see your eyes. A long moment went by. Then Marilee took off the glasses and threw them past my head. I think she was trying to throw them at my head. Then she turned and walked away, but not before I saw why she'd been wearing them. I picked up the glasses and put them in my pocket. That night I saw those glasses flying past my head again and again and again, and I saw Marilee's red eyes again and again and again. Marilee wasn't in school the next day. I kept looking over at her empty desk. At lunch recess, I wrote a new Romeo and Juliet essay in the library. Here's the first sentence of the essay. What Shakespeare wanted to express about being a human being in Romeo and Juliet is that it's hard to care about two things at the same time, like caring about the Montague family and caring about Juliet too. Here's the last sentence. If Romeo had never met Juliet, maybe they both would have been still alive. But what would they have been alive for is the question that Shakespeare wants us to answer. I handed the essay in to Mrs. Baker at the end of the day. She read it through twice. Then she took my old essay out of the manila folder, which was still on top of her desk, and put in the new essay. She dropped the old essay into the trash, put the folder with the new essay into her desk, and then she looked up at me. So what will you do now? She said. That night was 79 cents left over from Valentine's Day and $1 from Monday's allowance. I bought 2 Cokes and a rose with a ribbon. I took them over to Marilee's house and rang the doorbell. Mr. Kowalski answered it. You're the Hood boy, he said. Is Marilee home? I said. He opened the door further and I came in. He hesitated. Then, her room is the one at the top of the stairs, he said. I went up the stairs slowly. I felt his eyes on my back, but I didn't want to turn around and let him know that I felt his eyes on my back. I knocked at Marilee's door. Go away, she said. I knocked again. I heard her scrape her chair against the floor and her footsteps stomping across the room. Her door opened. I told you. Then she stopped. Her mouth was open. I thought you might be thirsty, I said. Her mouth was still open. Are you? Am I what? Thirsty. She looked at the Cokes in my hand. Yes, she said. I handed her a bottle and pulled the opener out of my pocket. I love the sound of a brand new bottle of Coke when you pry the lid off and it starts to fizz. Whenever I hear that sound, I think of roses, and of sitting together with someone you care about, and of Romeo and Juliet waking up somewhere and saying to each other, weren't we jerks? And then having that all be over. That's what I think of when I hear the sound of a brand new bottle of Coke being opened. On Thursday, before the school board met to decide on its new architect, Kowalski & Associates withdrew its bid for the new junior high school. Hood & Associates was given the contract. What chumps, said my father. They were going to win hands down. What chumps? He shook his head. They're bound to go under now, but if you can't play for keeps, you shouldn't be in the business in the first place. And Kowalski never could play for keeps. And Hood & Associates can. He rubbed his hands together like Shylock on stage, and that's when something changed. I suddenly wondered if my father was really like Shylock. Not because he loved ducats, but because maybe he had become the person that everyone had expected him to become. I wondered if he ever had a choice, or if he ever felt trapped, or if he had ever imagined a different life. With this new contract, he was a sure bet for the Chamber of Commerce businessman of 1968. It's probably what everybody expected. For the first time, I wondered if it was what he wanted, or if there was a time when he might have wanted something else, or if I wanted something else, or if we were both only fortune's fools like Romeo. Marilee and I were partners on Friday for sentence diagramming. We ate together at lunch, and we decided to be partners for Mr. Petrelli's next geography assignment, which was the California Gold Rush and you. Make it relevant, said Mr. Petrelli. We sang together in chorus for Miss Violet of the Very Spiky Heels, and when it came time at the end of the day to clean the board, we did that together too. And that's why we were at the board together when Mr. Goreshi came into the classroom to give Mrs. Baker a yellow telegram, a telegram that she took out of the envelope then read. then dropped onto the floor as she rushed out, leaving Mr. Goreshi in front of the class without any idea what to do. When we picked up the telegram to put on her desk, Marilee and I could hardly not read it ourselves, or at least the words that mattered. Downed helicopter transport, stop. Quezon, stop. Lieutenant T. Baker missing in action, stop.